I know there's a lot of stuff happening in Syria right now.
And isn't it with ISIS? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's happening with the ISIS group.
I know that they had some refugees.
And I heard about the refugees, them not like helping
Yeah.
the refugees and stuff like that.
I would say is in the Asia continent or Europe?
In the
Turkey?
Middle East?
Somewhere near Russia.
Here is where Syria is actually located. Syria shares borders with Iraq, Jordan, Israel, Lebanon, and Turkey. It touches the east side of the Mediterranean Sea. The primary language spoken in Syria is Arabic, just like many of its surrounding countries. Currently, Syria is under the power of the Assad regime, which is an Alawite regime that has bombed its own people, caused widespread violence in Syria, and denied its people the right of democracy. Before all of this violence occurred, Syria was a very civilized place full of well-educated people in an advanced society where Christians, Muslims, and other religions got along well. This makes it difficult to believe that societies that are far in advance can crumble in such short time. Samar Yazbek is a famous journalist from Syria that has gone around Syria in order to document the voice of the victims of the Syrian revolution. According to Yazbek, writers need to be part of the change in Syria. Here is some background on the Syrian revolution.
During the year 2011, the Arab Spring, a revolutionary wave of protests and conflicts toppled many authoritarian regimes. This said Bashar al-Assad. He took the presidency from his father, who led Syria since the 1960s. He repressed his people by restricting free speech and isolating the economy. 12 years have passed until thousands of Syrians demanded reforms and demonstrated against their government. Assad refused to step down, and he even opened fire on Syrians. Hundreds died and thousands more were arrested. This turned into a brutal civil war. Assad was backed by his allies Russia and China. His actions aggravated Syrians, and small rebel groups joined the fight, like al-Nusra, an offshoot of al-Qaeda which is being supplied and aided by Saudi Arabia. ISIS, a militaristic jihadist group, used this opportunity to enter the chaos with a goal to build a totalitarian Islamic caliphate. The Syrian population was trapped between the regime as well as rebel groups and ISIS. Due to the everlasting conflicts in Syria, its people have been displaced to different countries, which has created one of the largest refugee crises.
Samar Yazbek's book, A Woman in the Crossfire, takes us through the hardships of the Assad regime. She kept diaries of her experience and the effects of the Syrian revolution. She witnessed street protestings, assaults on towns, and bombings. For the most part, she did not have to endure the assaults or the bombings, but she does discuss the times in which she participated in the protest movements. She was often concerned about protecting her adolescent daughter, her fears, and her involvement in the movements. Not only does it talk about her personal encounters, but this book also contains interviews, testimonies, and letters from various Syrian people describing how they were treated at this time. This book is not an easy nor a quick read, but it is a very intriguing piece that will dig into the depths of Yazbek's personal experiences and into the hardships of others.
Since the war broke out in Syria, more than 4 million Syrian refugees crossed over the border into neighboring countries like Greece and France. Once they cross over the Syrian border, they have to survive a deadly sea crossing into Europe. According to the UN Refugee Agency, in 2014, 3,400 individuals died or went missing into the Mediterranean Sea. Once the refugees make it to the land, they aren't necessarily greeted with open arms. They have to travel and hike under a sweating sun, risking beating, tear gassing to find a country that accepts them. Just like other refugees, Samar Yazbek had to go through all this to escape from Syria to France. But once she escaped, she didn't rest. Samar Yazbek went back and forth to Syria 3 times by squeezing through a fence in Turkey to visit her homeland, making each visit more dangerous than the previous one. This was discussed in her recent books called The Crossing. Samar Yazbek has done so much for the Syrian community, and she still continues to help the country, despite the fact that she has already found safety for herself.
For the Syrians to cross over Syrian border into Greece, they have to jump over a fence as high as this, and with the spikes and with the wires, guards pulling them down, and we're gonna see how hard it is for them to jump over this fence. That was hard, and that's without the wires and all the with the spikes, and refugees with their families, with the kids and with the elderly. I can't imagine what they have to go through. Come close. This is a variety foods of Mediterranean countries. Right, there's different spices and all that.
Chicken, garlic sauce, and bacon.
I'm coming. I have to take Osama somewhere. I don't need it.
Onion, pita bread.
I bet this would be the shawarma that Samar Yazbek enjoying eating it, just like me.